South.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. As Lori indicated, we won't have a closed session today. That was indicated on the agenda. Just because of some issues with Zoom and breakout sessions, it's kind of hard, creates a nightmare. So next time we get together or we find another way to do it, we may have a closed session if required. As far as public comment, we do have two. Connie, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Tara Nunn with Equus and Anthony Pounds with Equus. Tara, are you available?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning to the board. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tara Nunn, as mentioned. I am the project director for Equus Workforce Solutions. And I have the pleasure of working with the Dallas Workforce Services team. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you guys to our new Young Adult Operations Manager, Mr. Anthony Pound. Mr. Pound possesses over 14 years of experience in youth services. He was formerly the Associate Director of Education for the new 42nd Street Incorporated. We're extremely excited to have Mr. Pound on our team. He has come in, joined us as of last week, and he has hit the ground running. I wanted to thank Ronnie Henry, who is our operations manager, who accepted the role in the interim to lead the operations of our young adult program. He and Ronnie have partnered extremely well. As a result of the pandemic, what we realized is the fact that the graduating class of 2020 just didn't get the opportunity to have that traditional celebration or the opportunities that are afforded after becoming a high school graduate. So we have this aggressive outreach that we're currently providing to this particular class because of the fact that we want to be able to offer them work experience opportunities as well as vocational training. So Mr. Pound has accepted each task. He is up for it. He is looking forward to taking our young adult program to the next level. And we are so fortunate to have him, and we look forward to creating some new and innovative ways of serving young adults in our community. So with that, I would like for Mr. Pound to introduce himself as well. I may not have done him justice, so I want to turn it over to him. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Tara, and good morning, everyone. I apologize if there's background noise. I had to turn my heater on for the first time. I didn't expect to bring the cold weather down to Dallas, so I apologize for that first and foremost. As Tara said, my name is Anthony Pound, and I am originally from the South. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but for the last 20 years, I've been in New York City. And as Tara said, working with the youth there exclusively for the past 14 years, late high school, college, and early career professionals. I am incredibly excited to bring that down and to help the team here in Dallas. In New York, I was focused mainly on workforce and career development for the arts industry. I worked at the new 42nd Street, as Tara said, and at several other theaters there on Broadway, but the skills are the same. We worked specifically with the populations that were most in need in New York. It's hard to say, things like inner city youth, because all of New York City is inner city. And my philosophy is every young person needs something. And so I'm excited to continue to bring that here. Just a little background about myself. Like I said, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and moved to New York in 2003, and so was there for quite a while, working in the theater industry and then in youth development. In 2014, I was honored to receive the National Arts and Humanities Youth Program Award from the White House, and to spend some time in the White House and specifically get to meet First Lady Michelle Obama's team and work with them on furthering the voice of young people, as well as teaching at several conferences in Austin, the Mentor Summit in DC, where I got to deal with a lot of Congress and advocating for young people in the creative youth development and workforce development world. I received my mentor supervisory program postgraduate work with Fordham University. And so I'm all in this program, and I'm all in making young people's lives better. The work that I've seen the team do here in Dallas has been exceptional. I've never seen a team work as hard as they have, from Tara and Ronnie all the way through all the centers. You would think there wasn't a pandemic going on, because they're running on all four wheels, really making change in people's lives. And I love to see that, because that's what I'm here for. If there's anything I can do to make the young adult program more visible, or to really push and help the young people of Dallas, please let me know. As Tara said, I'm new, but I feel like I've been here for a month with all the stuff that I've learned. This team has been great, making sure that I learn everything. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be in a place where I can say y'all and not get made fun of. With that, thank y'all. And thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much. And Anthony, thank you, and welcome aboard. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you. I guess next we'll do the declaration of conflict of interest. So we need to kind of track that. Everybody who unmute if you are muted, and just let Connie know of your status.
Anything to do with the Texas Workforce Commission, please.
Rolinda Duran, same.
Rebecca, Child Care Group, that's my conflict.
Anything with Irving ISD for Magda, but I don't believe I saw anything on the agenda for that, so good.
Dan Mitchell, Dallas ISD.
Thank you, Dan. And Joe,
Christina Criado, no conflict.
thank you, Christina.
Anything with the Texas Department of Health and Human Services. Hello.
Hello.
Got everybody? Okay,
We're good.
we're good.
Next on the agenda, as we mentioned, is the closed session, but we will not have that today. So we'll go right into Chairman's comments, which with the length of the agenda, even though it's going to be a little shorter than is reflected, I'm going to go ahead and defer to Lori to read a document she has that she'd like to share with us.
Thank you very much. This morning, we will bid farewell to one of our dearest members, Carrie McGee. Carrie has been with us for a full 6 years, just about. Carrie, you'll miss it by a couple of months, 2 terms. Carrie has been instrumental in helping our field staff. He has been involved back in several events, bringing our people into the libraries to help serve others. Libraries are extremely important. And Carrie is the librarian in DeSoto. He will be retiring in May. That's why he's retiring from his post with us. Carrie has also been Librarian of the Year in Texas back in '09. And I tell you, he is truly a fine representative of the librarians. You have no idea how important the Texas library system can be to work for us. And so he has been here representing literacy, working with us as much as he could. Carrie, we're going to miss you so much, dear, but I wanted to make sure we'll send you your plaque. It'll be in next week. Very sad tidings. We lost our awards company. They went in under during the pandemic. So Connie is scampering to find us a new good bidder. But Carrie, you will get your award. We thank you for your service. And I'll turn it back to Bill.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, I guess, Lori, will go to the external presentations. Shannon?
Yes, we have 2 wonderful presentations that have been delayed, and I want to thank both of our presenters for joining us this morning. Kicking off will be Dallas ISD Career Institute, Shannon Trejo. Shannon?
Good morning. I want to express our gratitude to the board for the opportunity to come and speak today, and especially thank Trustee Mitchke for making this connection available to us to share a little bit about Dallas ISD and our career institutes. So we've got a slideshow presentation. My name is Shannon Trejo. I'm the Chief Academic Officer, and it's so nice to see so many faces that I recognize and have worked with so closely over the years and currently here in Dallas ISD. So I'm going to turn it over to my Deputy Chief, Tiffany Hewitt, and our Assistant Superintendent of STEM Services and the Career Institutes, Oswaldo Alvarenga. And we're super excited to share with you how we are working to support a pipeline of highly qualified employees into the Dallas area. So I'll kick it off with Tiffany and Oswaldo.
Thank you, Shannon. Again, I'm Tiffany Hewitt, the Deputy Chief Academic Officer, and I just want to share a little bit about Dallas ISD with the group here today. We had pre-pandemic over 153,000 students. As of today, we are collecting attendance for about 146,000 students daily. We're one of the largest employers in Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. And, you know, pre-pandemic, we had a lot of great numbers that were coming out of the Dallas Independent School District. We had our increase in graduation rates. We had a decrease in our dropout rates. We have some of the best schools in the nation and in the world. And we have made a significant investment in our post-high school education by really investing in dual credit programs, dual language programs, our advanced placement programs, and then most recently our career and technical education program. Oswaldo, if you want to go ahead and start the next slide and finish out the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hewitt. Really, we're looking at the Higher Education Board. They set 4 goals for the state of Texas, the 60 by 30. I'm sure you're all well aware of this. At least 60% of Texans ages 25 to 34 will have a certificate or degree. The second goal was the completion. The third goal was the marketable skills. And the fourth goal was the student debt. As you can see, undergrad student loan debt will not exceed 60% of the first year wages. And so, you know, we had a lot of students coming out with way more than 60% of your first year wage. I mean, think about that. If you're coming out to, you know, a certain job and you're making a certain amount of money, it should not be 60% or more. So along with everyone, and I see a lot of friendly faces here that we know, and along with their work, we're also doing following the 60 by 30 goals as well. The Career Institute objectives. So we wanted to prepare students for high demand, livable wage jobs in the Dallas region, okay? We wanted to provide equity and access, no matter what part of the city you are in, to career and technology education pathways. There's a lot of power by centralizing these career institutes into 4 because we can provide the state-of-the-art industry grade equipment. We can have networking and resources available to all our comprehensive high schools. And then we wanted to increase the student-earned industry recognized certifications. Okay, so those are our objectives. And so this is, because of those objectives, we created the Career Institutes. There'll be 4 Career Institutes in the city of Dallas, a north, south, east, and west Career Institute. They're going to be about 180,000 square feet. Each of these Career Institutes will have 20 distinct pathways. And here's just some of the pathways. These are the low-hanging fruit. These are the ones we know we're in high demand. And we know that there are livable wages associated with that. So you can see the aviation, cybersecurity, mechatronics, construction, the electrical, architecture, and interior design, HVAC, plumbing, and then our health services. Now, along with this, we know it's very important to have internships, mentorships, work sites visit, guest speakers almost daily. And at the end, we're definitely going to have our career fairs for our students. And then one thing that we know is very important is that not only will they get their skills and certifications, but they're also going to get financial literacy, general employability, entrepreneurship, And along that is flexible scheduling for our students to attend, because our students are involved in sports, they're involved in band, and we have the flexibility to still attend a career institute. Here's a map of the city, and you can see where our career institutes currently are. Here's the address. We are in one, the Price Career Institute South is in its permanent location. The Career Institute North right now is in a leased facility, but as we'll show later on in our timeline, you'll see that their permanent facility will open up in 2023. Career Institute East is right now housed at our Lincoln High School, and we'll have a new facility in 2024. And then the Career Institute West is, that one is the only one that's not available, but we have shifted our schools so that they have access to another career institute. And so in case you're wondering how this would work, in the traditional 8-period day over 2 days, so students get their first 4 periods on A day on Monday, and then they go on B day, they get their second 4 periods, and they're about 90 minutes each. So a total of 8 periods throughout the week. And so what we are going to do is 2 of those periods, they will be coming to the Career Institute and getting their CTE class, in some cases, a language other than English, or their foreign language class. And then as they become juniors and seniors, they'll have 2 periods of this CTE class. So you can see that it's about half a day every other day. And so they are still able to go back within their campus. We're located within 15 to 20 minutes of every campus, so that we get them back on campus, back into their lunch, and then back on schedule. So here's our timeline. As we stated, we started in 1920 with 5 pathways, and we started with teachers on campuses because the facilities weren't available. In 2020, 2021 is when our 3 career institutes opened up, our lease facility, our temporary facility, and our permanent facility. Next year, we are going to expand the Career Institute South because they have the room. I'll speak to that a little bit later. And then you see there's about a year of construction, and then that's when the other facilities will open up. The North starting in 23, 24, and then the CI South, and I believe the CI East has also moved up in the phase of construction.
Oswaldo, can I jump in for just a second? I know that timeline that's up kind of shows the construction into the buildings and the student side and the Dallas ISD side, but the team has done a tremendous amount of work to connect with people such as the members of this board and different companies within the city, because our students really are connected to their families, to their neighborhoods. They're looking for livable wage jobs in the Dallas area. And these pathways were created intentionally to create that pipeline because our kids want to live and work and stay home in this area, which we think is going to add to the economy here and help provide a great employee for our workforce that's coming into Dallas. I know Oswaldo mentioned the financial literacy skills as well as the employability skills. Those are actual courses that students take, entrepreneurship and financial literacy, because we know how important that is for students to be able to manage their funds once they get out. And the pathways that were selected were done so intentionally, as he will show you in just a few minutes. But even though this looks like a long timeline, it's actually a very intentional timeline. We could have pushed it off because of the pandemic, but we didn't. We chose to get in and actually have already 1,200 students participating just this year, starting in a pandemic. So we anticipate that our enrollment will continue to grow each year. And we have very specific goals around those certifications and making sure that our students are going to meet those goals presented at the very beginning. Thanks, Oswaldo.
Absolutely. And so as Shannon mentioned, we're preparing for new pathways for next year. We know health services, healthcare is big in Dallas. And so we want to ensure that our students have access to these pathways. As you can see, 4 new health science pathways: EMT, EKG phlebotomy, pharmacy technician, patient care technician. This will be available at our Career Institute South, East, and in the near future in the North. We've received invaluable data from Dallas Thrives. I know many of you are familiar with their work, And as you can see, we were able to validate the data that we had by slides such as this that show the different livable wages and demand of jobs in the healthcare. And as you can see, on the right-hand side, you can see how P-TECH and Career Institute dovetail into each other. And so we have choices for our students. And so all this will lead to high school students to have certifications, but then we would need a very tight handshake, obviously with our Dallas community colleges, because that is an option for students to continue. And so these are the type of pathways that we will have. We wanted to show you that we have 57 industry partners currently that are working with our freshmen and sophomores that we have. Here are the 40 of them that we share logos with. They have guest speakers, they have, our students have our virtual tours. For instance, tomorrow and Friday, we're going to have our virtual tour with Amazon. And because it's virtual, before we would take a couple bus loads of students, because it's virtual now, and we're going to take about 5,000 students on their virtual tour. And so we had to divide it into 2 days, morning and afternoon, to make sure that our students have access to that. So we're very excited about that. Very excited to work with our partners. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions for our CAO, Shannon Trejo, our Deputy CAO, Tiffany Hewitt, and myself.
I tell you what, I can ask you, Oswaldo, how do you become a one of those logos on the wall there? Who do we need to talk
Question.
We love to hear that. And I'll put my email in the chat, and we would definitely like to have a conversation. We have conversations daily. Obviously this list is going to grow, and we're very appreciative of you making contact here.
You bet.
Any way that companies can see themselves as being a part of this, as little as a guest speaker coming in or providing a tour of facility and just making us familiar and the students familiar with the work that's being done, all the way up to mentorships, internships, externships. We really span the gamut of that continuum of commitment. We just want to really connect with our business community and the workforce solutions that are out there so that we can better help prepare our students to be the best employees possible.
One thing Shannon mentioned was our externships. This is an easy way for our industry partners to get involved. Sometimes they're not ready for teenagers to get out, on their campus, but our teachers are coming from industry. As you saw, they're not traditional teachers because they're in order to come in, they have to have 5 to 10 years of experience in their field. And so they need to be kept up to date with what's going on. So during the summer, we'll pay the teachers, but they go off into our partner sites and they get trained on the latest technology, right? The latest construction, the latest whatever's going on in their field, and then they come back and they're able to train our students. So our externships with our teachers is just as important as our internships with our students.
Great. Are there any other questions from the board?
Dan has.
Oh, there we go. Trustee Mitch K.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Shannon, Oswaldo, and Tiffany for being here today. I appreciate the presentation and all the hard work that goes into creating this program. I look at this program as being one of several that we've developed in the last few years to give our students more opportunities and to meet the demands of the community. This one I look at as bringing back traditional vocational education in a big way, and then all of the new types of trades. So within what was presented here were the traditional trades that we're amping up, plumbing and construction and so forth, and some of the newer trades. But this is all in addition to the great P-TECH program and the partnership that we have with over 80 industry partners, and of course Dallas College and all the great work that Dr. May has done to help bring those pathways and opportunities to our students. A lot of great things going on at Dallas ISD, and I really appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to present these to this board. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just add, Bill, I was on the phone, very nice call last Monday with the new Secretary of Education, Cardona. And I sent him an invitation to come to Dallas saying, we have DISD, we have Dallas College, and we have the Workforce Board. You need to come and see what can happen when everybody pulls in the same direction. So I don't know that he will come, but I'm going to pursue that. Joe, have you met with him yet? You're muted. Sorry, dude. It's not coming.
There we are. You know, it's too many buttons to press, but no, it's let me say to Lori, I think it'd be great to have that part of our meeting, but also just the really proud to partner with DISD and the. You know, we almost, I realize when you see this, they make it look easy, and it's easy to take it for granted. And this is really hard work. And there's a reason why there are only a few school districts in the state even thinking about this type of engagement with around business and industry, focusing on jobs that exist today where people can make a living wage right out of high school. And we're just excited about the great work. So thank you for that, and great job.
The perfect lead in to our next presenter. Thank you, DISD. If I could, Dallas College is up next with our One Workforce and Amy McEnroth. Amy, are you with us? Yes, there she
sure am. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you all for having me. Let me see if I can get my screen shared here. This one. All right. Can y'all see that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. We'll kick it right off then. So the department, I'm Amy McEnroth, and I'm the Senior Managing Director for Workforce Development within the Workforce and Advancement arm at Dallas College. And in September, the Department of Labor announced up to $150 million of funding to build sustainable workforce strategies in mid to high level H-1B occupations. And so we submitted in collaboration with some folks on the team at Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas in November, and we received the funding effective February 1st. So like I said, out of the $145 million, Dallas College was only one of 5 colleges awarded this funding, and we received $10 million. Most of that is designated to pay for employee training and tuition. The Department of Labor vision is to create sustainable long-term partnerships between Dallas College, industry, employers, the workforce boards, to contribute industry expertise and mentoring for employees. And so we are forming those public-private partnerships, including integration of workforce board resources to create a pipeline of un- or underemployed participants in the project. Dallas College is also providing the leadership to the project, resources for the project, and the innovative training that we hope most participants will engage in. So a quick overview of the, a quick overview of the project. It's targeting 3 main sectors. And in light of rapid transformation in those sectors and significant demand for a well-equipped and trained workforce, the Department of Labor put a focus on IT, advanced manufacturing, and transportation. We designed the project with an open call to partners. This gives us the greatest flexibility to rapidly respond to industry demand and onboard employers that are willing to train and employ their workforce using this model. We are looking for partners here in Dallas, Fort Worth area, throughout Texas, and those who might have a nationwide scope. So for example, one of our partners is AT&T. We could train their staff no matter where they are in the country, and in fact, we would like to do so. Our target number of trainees is 4,000. So approximately 2/3 of those should be from the or underemployed category as new hires, and about 34% of those will be incumbent workers. And although we don't have any specific requirements, we have a special interest, of course, in serving our natural population from Dallas College, especially veterans and transitioning service members and underrepresented groups. Our goal is to train a workforce that will be equipped to enter middle to high skilled occupational career pathways that pay family sustaining wages. And this is a 4-year project that started February 1st. We expect the distribution of those trainees to take the shape of a bell curve, but we would be, of course, delighted to front load as many of those 4,000 trainees toward the front end of the grant as possible. And of course, we are using a work and learn model. Employers will select the exact training needed to prepare their employees and upskill or reskill their incumbent workers using opportunities such as apprenticeship, internships, and other work-based learning mechanisms. And ultimately, we expect most trainees to earn some sort of industry recognized credential through this project, such as certifications, degrees, and other in-demand employer recognized credentials. Ideally, the credentials will be stackable and part of a larger plan to set these trainees up for career success. So what do you think keeps employers up at night? What are the lead HR folks in these organizations thinking about? Our experience, and probably your experience, repeatedly suggests that one of the biggest things keeping them awake is hiring and retaining talent. And so the project partnership is acquiring and developing the exact talent needed for the workforce. This is the pipeline into these organizations. And working with Workforce Solutions, this project will help companies hire folks with untapped talent and great potential, so that they can develop the skills and competencies you need for a successful and vibrant workforce. This is completely employer-driven project, so we can design specific programs to be exactly what they need and when they need it. No fluff, total flexibility. So here's an example of the various types of training that we can use to equip the workforce. As I mentioned in the last slide, this grant project was intentionally designed with flexibility in mind, because we know from experience that a one-size-fits-all model just doesn't work. And so one employer might need a boot camp to train their employees over the course of 2 to 4 weeks. Another might go more traditional. Another might go with an IRAP or a registered apprenticeship program, or maybe a simple internship. So as far as what's expected from the employers, and given that this is an employer-driven program, and given that the partnership for this project is mandated by the DOL and critical to sustainability of the project in the future post-grant funding, here are some of the things that you might expect or that an employer might expect if they were to join this project. So the first is they're going to inform the training design and pick what's right for them. They're going to help us identify the correct skills and competencies for their organizations so we can set the employees up on a career pathway that's mutually beneficial to the company and the employee. They will offer training support, so they'll need a program director, for example, on site or that's accessible at least to the trainees to provide mentorship and guidance to the employees. They'll also need to allow their employees to attend related courses so that they can build up their skills and competencies. This is a work-based learning model, like I said before, so they can pick the best fit for their organization, something formal or less formal. They need to interview and hire and promote and hopefully retain and backfill those positions. Our goal is to see these folks employed for the long term and for companies to reap the benefits of reduced turnover and increased employee engagement. And since this is a federally funded project, of course, employers are going to be engaged with us on reporting requirements for the duration of the grant and for 1 year beyond program completion. And as I mentioned a few slides ago, we envision this as a true partnership that will grow and be nurtured over time. It's not just a one and done type of program. The bigger picture is to work together to create a symbiotic relationship that's beneficial to all parties involved, aiming towards true sustainability. So companies and industry groups, associations can get involved. We have an entire process laid out for this, what we're calling an open call to be involved with the project. Workforce Solutions Dallas has this special opportunity to be a part of the project partnership and has already been engaged. As Lori mentioned at the beginning, we were supposed to present back in February when this happened, and that was when we had the storm. So we've been really grateful to have been working with folks at Workforce. And I think that we're all really looking forward to connecting to the employers in an ongoing basis and placing participants into training programs. And so the link on the page, it's not clickable since I'm just sharing my screen, but I can always put it in the chat. That's the interest form that somebody would fill out. And we actually would probably like to talk to somebody before they go into that form because it would take about 20 minutes to fill out. But it will help us capture the information about the companies and what they're looking for. And so the Workforce Board is, like I said, already working with us, but if you know somebody, you can direct employers to reach out to us. We'll get them in touch with one of our project relationship managers who can walk you through what this might look like for the organization. And the easiest way to get a response is probably just to email our general email account, which is soldev@dccd.edu. That's Solutions Development, short, soldev. And that email will be responded to by the appropriate person. And so with that, I will take questions. We look forward to potentially partnering with you, and that's all I've got.
Hey, Amy, this is Michelle Thomas over at JP Morgan Chase. Thank you for that amazing presentation. So with the partnership with AT&T, or just in general for corporations, who is the best person to connect with Dallas College? Is it the person within the company that's in the HR department, or it is a line of business head that leads up our IT sector?
It might be a combination of both. HR is always going to have to bless these things. So we highly recommend connecting with a chief talent officer or chief learning and development officer, somebody like that. But if the business side is not bought in, then there's going to be a problem. So it's really going to need to be kind of a collaborative partnership from within the organization that we then collaborate with.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, let me, if I could, Bill, make a comment or two. And Amy, thank you very much for the presentation. And Laurie, thank you for the collaboration and partnership on this project and so many others that are there. But I do kind of want to point out a little bit of something that we all need to be thinking about. I think we all acknowledge that apprenticeships, regardless of the type, are absolutely essential to building and sustaining a workforce, both in terms of building the size of the workforce and improving productivity of the workforce. Earlier in the presentation, a comment was made about 60 by 30 Texas. What a lot of people don't realize is that the state of Texas doesn't really track any of these apprenticeship programs. They don't count as successes of students in the process. It doesn't count towards 60 by 30 Texas. Now, this is not about keeping score for that purpose, but it does matter if we think this is a valid way to grow the workforce and to improve opportunity for students at all levels, whether you're coming out of high school or already in the workforce, or an employer needs to change and pivot and grow that. And so I do think that we need to really begin talking about this from a policy level, that this is beyond just kind of a one-off program. I mean, this is not the only, we're appreciative of this 10 million, but we've also received another 12 million grant and part of another 4 million grant around apprenticeship. So you do the math on that, and that's a lot of resources that are available for not only Dallas, but the region as well. So, just encourage Laurie that as we have these opportunities, begin to talk about that as a policy level, because you can't find a good record of what's happening in this space in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Dr. May. Appreciate that. I know that we're not going to succeed in our workforce program and our goals without partnerships. And these two presentations this morning were tremendous presentations, and it certainly shows up. I'm in the construction field on the refrigeration AC side, and I know the average age of a construction worker is probably about the 47, 48-year-old range. And we got to continue to provide a pipeline for the young people that have a desire to work with their hands, and technology-wise, service startup of equipment that we have is imperative, and both of these programs address those needs. So thank you to DISD, Career Institute, and also for Dallas College. Amy, Shannon, Tiffany, and Oswaldo, great presentations. And are there any other questions from the board? And if not, thank you both very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Lori, I guess we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. We need an action and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye or show of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? Lori and Connie, I'm assuming you all are looking at all of us. So I'm not in the right screen to see everybody, but I'm assuming that passed.
Yes, sir. We are so blessed today. There are 21 out of 25 members in attendance. Thank you very much. But it takes 2 screens, so it takes us a little while to count.
No doubt. And just to remind everybody that I think we're all involved in various boards one way or another, but this is a public board, so everything has to be documented to the letter of the law. And so thank you all in advance, and for your patience and understanding with what Lori and the staff are dealing with when we do these meetings. Lori, what's next on there?
We skip action pursuant to closed session. We are at means, ends, expectations, and I've asked our team to do a quick run through of those forms. Richard has some good information.
Right.
We are no longer missing a measure once the state got the report cleaned up. So I think you can just kick it off with Ashley.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Ashley Verner, Chief Financial Officer for the board. And we've omitted our program spotlight report this month that you've seen the last couple of months with our full agenda this month, but we do plan to bring that back to you all in a future month. Our financial report begins on page 13. We've highlighted the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grants, youth, adult, and dislocated worker. Each year by June 30th, these 3 grants with 1 year remaining in the service period must result in a combination of expenditures plus obligations equal to or exceeding 80% of the total grant budget. So you may recall in years past, we true these obligations up prior to June. Demetria will bring you proposed amounts to obligate in these 3 grants later in the meeting to assist us in meeting that 80% benchmark. Page 14 shows the Trade Act Services Grant highlighted. We obligated Equus with contract beginning in October based on amounts spent in their prior year contract. We do have funds available in this grant, and Equus has expressed a need for an increased budget. We will also bring to you the additional amount to obligate later in this meeting. Finally, on page 15, we have highlighted 2 vocational rehabilitation contracts, student hireability navigator, and wage services for paid work experience. We have additional funds to obligate in these 2 contracts as well to Equus, which Demetria will discuss later. While I have the floor, I'll just make mention of one more fiscal item. Our annual audit over fiscal year 2020 will be in full swing next Monday. Crow LLP, our external auditors, are scheduled to start field work virtually next week. They did push their start date up by 1 week this year due to their schedules, so they will most likely have wrapped up their test work by our May board meeting, at which time I can provide you an update. I'd be happy to entertain any financial questions you may have, or I can pass it over to Richard.
The only thing I would add, Ash, and that was a great report, is if you could go to the line item for RECE funding. It is on page, I think it's 15, no, 14. I just want to bring the board's attention. If you notice below the blue line, there are 2 lines regarding reemployment services. The earlier grant was $1.2 million. We spent what we could of that. The grant ended in January. The other grant began spending in February, but we will have a conversation about that having to do with our work search requirement. The state has kind of flagged that grant and said, you know, you can spend it if you don't adopt work search requirements. But I think we found a good solution for that to kind of open the floor for that discussion later in the meeting. And I really need you to hang on for that action item. It's very critical this month. Thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Hey, Lori, this is Ken. May I ask a dumb question? But when you said we spent what we could of that, what does that mean?
During COVID, a reemployment grant could not really be functioning because that particular grant requires us to mandate job search, and that was waived by the state. We're going to see the same effect, Ken, in TANF funding, because HHS did not require participation during most of the pandemic. So I think the state is recycling the money for us. I know they did that in a couple of other cases, and they're probably going to mention it in childcare. I asked currently, do we lose money in childcare? He said, no, I think you can de-ob and push it forward. Most of the money's on a 1 or 2 year, sometimes 3 year spending. But boy, it's been hard this year to spend against the rules, make sure we stay inside the lines. That's kind of unforgivable in our business. But yes, it's hard to let money go. It is, but it stays in the state and it's redistributed. And maybe we've benefited in the past from other boards not spending in childcare. We inherited 10 million when we needed it. So we try to work as a team in Texas, and that one was hard. I fought for it. I fought hard. I shouldn't have, because we could not find a way to spend it. And we may have the same problem with the 800,000 because that grant expires in September.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yes, sir.
Richard?
All right. Good morning. My name is Richard Perez, and I'm the research manager with the board. And I'm going to touch on the monthly performance report for our contracted measures, and that is the NPR. And like Lori was saying, there has been a revision since the board packet went out, and we are meeting the youth measurable skills gain. And in fact, we're increase the performance in the adult and the dislocated measurable skills gains. And the measurable skills gain is a new measure for this report. And that is it's a contracted measure, and it's defined as a documented academic or technical progress towards a credential or employment. And one example is passing an exam that is required for the training. So maybe like a midpoint or just a documented progress. So it's a new measure that'll be with the NPR for the next few years. So we're doing well in measurable skills gain. There is one that I would like to point out, and that is median earnings for youth. it is lower than it should be. We're going to keep an eye on that and try to identify some supplemental wages that we can find or, document for the youth and see if we can boost that measure. And childcare is also not meeting for this performance period, but they're doing everything that they can. And I'll leave it at that for the NPR if there's any questions. Okay, well, let's go to the economic snapshot. And I'm going to go ahead and touch on a few things. There has been an updated unemployment rate for Dallas County, and that decreased again. And for March, it is 7.2%. That just came out also. Unemployment claims still higher than what they were pre-COVID, but they are decreasing. The next graph, the percent change in employment, that basically is saying that the number of lower wage jobs decreased 21% during April through current compared to higher wage jobs. So lower wage jobs took a bigger hit during this recession. I'll touch on the last two. Job posting activity is on the uptick. And on that next infographic, active job openings, that is a snapshot of job postings for the last 30 days in work in Texas. Software development is off the charts, and those are real job openings, some with some very large companies in the area and anything in between, a lot of open teacher positions, and just to give an idea of what is, or the types of occupations that are really booming right now in the metro area. And on the next page.
Could I have on this slide still? Yes. So from March to April, UI claims in Dallas County decreased from 28,000 to 12,000.
Correct. And let's see. Yes. So 12,680 is for what we had for April. That might not be a complete picture, but it is a little bit less than March.
Yeah. Sorry, Richard, let me jump in. Yeah, so that is a partial month as of last week. So we're probably going to see that finish out around March or close to the March numbers.
And so, just to be clear, guys,
okay,
there are more unemployed people. Richard gave me figures at the end of March, I believe, maybe the end of February. We have 100,000 people unemployed in Dallas County, just about 101,000. 20,000 of those are both on pandemic and continuing claims. So the figures we're talking about would be, Richard, new claims?
For in the graph, yes, those would have been initial claims.
We're seeing a lot of newly unemployed. I know Tarrant County told me they're seeing a lot as well. So we're not really sure what accounts for that. It may be just long-term stress on the system, people reducing staff because they're virtual. We're not really sure, but we are seeing a kind of an interesting pattern. But we are from that 677,000 at the top across the entire 14 months to have slightly over 100,000. And I think our norm for this period of time last year would have been, or in 19 would have been about 46,000. So we're still double our unemployment in actual people, but it's a long cry from where it was a year ago.
Hey, Lori. Part of that could be, a lot of people with PPP-1 and even PPP-2 have used the money, certainly at one, to retain employees, even when their contracts were down. If they're coming into 2021 first quarter and their contracts are still down, and they're out of the PPP1 money or maybe even PPP2 at this time, then that's where they may be laying off people who may be going the unemployment insurance route.
Good point, Bill. Good point. I think Christina had a question.
Yes, I have a quick question. Several of my employees have received false claims for unemployment when they are currently employed, at least 3 of them within the past 12 months. So the first one, when the first one happened, I think I had reached out to you and asked if there was an increase in fraud.
Christina, your mic went off.
Do you have any more data on any type of fraud happening?
Yes, ma'am. Fraud is quite ridiculous at this point. Apparently, it's being treated like identity theft. The state assures everyone they have not been hacked, but they are saying that bad actors throughout the world were able to hack systems in the prior 2 years. You remember these large, expansive acts. So we are being instructed to tell people to handle it like identity fraud. Report it to the state so that they don't pay the claim as fast as you can. The second step is to notify one of the 3 credit bureaus. Check, lock down your credit. They don't know how long this storm will last. I think the report in March was $500 million attempted fraud. The state is trying to contain it. Richard, you have more, and then Dan has a question.
I don't have any more, but I do know that it is a big issue, and TWC is throwing everything they can at trying to mitigate and solve some of those issues.
Dan?
Thank you. Just an anecdote that involves me personally from earlier this month. So I am the employee of a PC that bears my name, and the PC is actually the partner in Aiken Gum. But so the PC only has 1 employee, and that is me, Daniel, the individual. And I got a fraudulent claim from somebody purporting to be Dan, and I tried to report it, but it's actually cumbersome to report. Like when you report identity theft to a credit card company, you lost your credit card, for example, something as simple as that, they jump right on it. It is actually an ordeal to report this. After waiting on the voicemail for a long time, I got to a person who then referred me to another person who then told me to fill out some form on the website. But it's not like they jump on this right away. When most companies, when they hear a hint of fraud, they will jump on it. With TWC, it is a multi-step process, and they put all the burden on the person trying to report.
Yeah.
And they make it so hard to do. It's almost like you're asking them for a service. But I just wanted to point that out, because if there's an area where TWC needs to improve, it's when they hear a hint of fraud, they need to pounce on it, and they don't, and it's very inconsistent with the private sector.
I appreciate those comments, and I acknowledge that we are seeing it, and our offices are flooded with calls of people who can't get through the lines. And I know this is difficult. I don't know the answer. I know there were a lot of extra staff hired and contractors hired to file claims. But Dan, I am working constantly with Senator West's office. The legislators are getting pounded about this. Where's the relief? How do we get rid of fraud? I know everyone's trying to mitigate the damage to the individual, but our system is under attack. Magda just put in the chat that Irving ISD was hit, and frankly, Magda, Irving Chamber was the first who ever called me on this last year, that they had 3 staff members at the same company. I thought it was a situation where something was happening in HR records, but it looks like it is so broad. Texas Instruments been hit hard, according to Bessie. We're getting everybody here. I don't know the solution, but we are in session in this state, and I think the legislators know about it. They know they need to solve it. I just think they need better ideas. Maybe we do need private sector input on how they have attacked fraud in this situation. But Dan, I hear you, and we've had just one case at our shop. Knock on wood. We're a small shop, but it is bizarre how this has just gone across all industries, all people, and it's in the United States. It's not just in Texas, but I've heard it referenced that it could even be bad actors, bad state actors. There were such massive thefts of identity, and this could be kind of the way they found a way to get money out of the government. Sure. So it's really going to hurt employers.
So I have a quick question, Lori. When people, when they file for a claim, do they have to provide a bank account for the funds to be transferred to?
They do. I think the way it has run is if you were in the system already and you had a bank account, but most people are relying on an address, and it's harder to change the address, which means that TWC has been able to stop a lot of the collecting on the attempted fraud. Because that's why Dan got a notice, people got a notice, people get a letter in the mail that says, you know, your claim is denied or your claim is approved. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the person who was trying to collect unemployment insurance from my professional corporation had set up a separate bank account for the money to be delivered to. So it was an electronic, you know, it would have been an electronic deposit. So the check wouldn't have been mailed to my house or anything like that. It would go to an account that they set up for the specific purpose of collecting the money.
And it's probably, Dan, because you weren't in the TWC system in terms of you had never filed a claim in the past. You know, there is no activity, so they set it up fresh. I think the ones that are easier to catch is when that person has had a claim 4 years ago. They already have an address and a bank account. But you're right, if it's a brand new account, it gets messy.
Right, and you know, I would have thought that, you know, TWC would have checked any other monies that would be going to that account, assuming that they didn't set up an account for every specific fraud. But it just seemed like they were uninterested in trying to do what a private sector business would do to stop the fraud.
I'm going to hope it's a matter of being overwhelmed. I will feed that back, but the commissioners, please let them hear from you. You know, you've all met with Commissioner Daniel. He's been to our board meeting. Let them know, but also offer solutions. I think that is the key. And maybe we should talk to the bigger banks, Chase, others that have dealt with credit card sales. There might be better ways to handle this.
Yeah.
The other fraud that is out there now is through, I'll just pick Indeed. They're having a huge problem with fraud in that it's Indeed, people are thinking that they're having interviews and they use our CEO's name, and you can go out on LinkedIn. And so these people are going through interviews for like customer service jobs, and it's a fraud. And so what they're doing is they're sending people, say, a signing bonus send in their social security information, so their I-9 information, and it's fraud. So we've had several people to either quit their jobs thinking that they have a job with us, or figure out that they've been defrauded. The whole thing was a scam. So that is huge as well. A lot of things coming because of COVID. People that are looking for jobs are more trusting, and these are customer service jobs. And so they are thinking that they are getting work.
That's tragic, Bessie. I had not heard that one. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Laura, do we need to, we'll move on to innovations?
Well, I want Richard to discuss the final report. Dan had requested that we do a long-term look back, and that chart is dramatic, guys. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I just wanted to real quick, I broke out the Texas and U.S. initial claims as far back as I could go. The U.S. can go back a little further from 1947 to 66, but it wasn't comparable, so they didn't include it in this. And these are Federal Reserve charts. I didn't want to recreate the wheel, so I just presented them as is. The gray bars represent prior recessions. And, you know, it just illustrates, even, you know, picking one of the prior recessions, the number of claims doesn't even come close to what we've seen in the last year. So I thought it's a great representation of that, you know, just reaching back as far as we could.
We're coming back into normal focus, though, hopefully, if the fraud doesn't undo us. Thank you so much. Oh, and Richard, you do have the job fair calendar, the events. As we talk about being robust in this market of virtual services, that just gives you the count of, and thank you, Stephen. He's done the bulk of this with Facebook Live and managing the virtual events, but we have had a lot of people come through our system this year in virtual job fairs. The problem is we are not getting feedback from the employers because they don't give us a lot of, they just move on. When we have them in person, it seems we got a lot better follow-up. In this, we don't have follow-up. So thank you for that one, Richard. Now we can move to innovations.
Okay. Lynn?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lynn Hoffman, Senior Innovation Strategist with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas. And I just realized it's been over a year since I've been able to actually address you all and speak to you and share a little bit about the innovative opportunities that we've come across and that I get to handle day to day. You'll see in the board packet, I've just done kind of a little overview and summary of several of the projects I'm working on. As the retail sector manager, I've had the wonderful opportunity through funding through our partners there at walmart.org to provide and to support retail workers, those currently working and those that have been displaced from retail, which I think does make up a huge portion of those that were affected, you know, through COVID. But we've been able to provide some training, some upskilling, reskilling opportunities. The first that you'll see here is Paths for Texas. This is actually a grant that is statewide, and I work with 4 different boards in 4 different areas to provide them with solutions, opportunities, and innovation to be able to upskill and work with their employers as well as workers to gain new skills, whether that's in retail or in other sectors where their wonderful customer service skills can actually transfer. So far, we're getting started with 228 enrollments and over 80 people have completed, and all the boards are working together. You'll see our logo, which is being used statewide to represent this brand and this opportunity. And that is mirrored or does mirror our Retail Pays program that we've been handling here in Dallas for several years, since 2018. And we're about to sunset that program in December, but currently have over 1,400 individuals that have taken advantage of the training. 600 have completed, and I've got over 100 that are actively pursuing different types of credentials and certifications through Retail Pays. Now, giving you a little bit of a breakdown there, you can see that it ranges everywhere from entry level all the way up to a supervisor or even a retail manager. And we've tried to provide a pretty wide scale of opportunities here to reach everyone where they are and where they want to be in their career. The other interesting projects that I'm working on are through connections with Jobs for the Future, primarily. One is working in the transportation, distribution, and logistics industry, where Prologis, which is one of the largest retailers, real estate owners for warehouses across the country, they've actually created this community workforce initiative where they are supporting their clients in hiring individuals to work in the warehouse industry. This has been very exciting. In phase one was only 5 months, and we engaged with almost 1,000 individuals. So we do know this is one, a demand occupation based on the jobs that are available, but two, of interest to workers and individuals that may be interested in a career path in the logistics industry. And we will be responding to an RFP to expand into phase 2. And that will give us an opportunity to take on additional learners, but it does include a strong employment connection piece as well. And we're looking forward to that as a next step coming soon, May, June timeframe. New Profit and the Future of Work Grand Challenge has been a unique opportunity for us. We are the convening and networking and I think oversight board for XPRIZE and MIT Solve. And these are very unique opportunities, very diverse opportunities as well. I was very excited to hear Anthony talk about his work in New York City in the arts, because we are bringing arts to work to Dallas. And this is going to be a really unique and amazing opportunity to provide pre-apprenticeships and other types of opportunities to introduce the jobs that are here, the growth opportunities and all of that, that we'd be able to do in our arts district here in Dallas. And Vital is a unique, uses actually augmented reality and virtual reality to supplement training individuals in the healthcare fields. So these are very innovative and very exciting and interesting projects that I'm working on. And with that, that's my update. And if anyone has any questions, I'm open to answer those as well.
Lynn, this is Carter. Thank you for the great report. A couple observations. Over history, we've seen what Walmart did to the independent retailer, and that's not a criticism, it's just an observation. But we're seeing what Amazon has done to retail. And so these logistic jobs are extremely important and part of our growth in Dallas. When I entered the commercial real estate business, to have a distribution center was a negative. And now the way they're built and you'll see retail around them, you'll see live, work, play around them. So logistics is a big part of what will bring back our Dallas real estate. And we're seeing a big shift from commercial real estate into industrial real estate, which is a distribution center. So I applaud you on keeping that in focus in our job training and in our potential expansion of jobs. And it's a great opportunity. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Carter. We're really excited because these are employer-led programs, which is the key. Any kind of input we can receive from employers, and they are helping to guide the curriculum, everything that we do. And that is key, because we know at the end of the training, there will be job opportunities available.
Thank you, Lynn. Bill, if I can go back and answer Ken's question in the chat,
Sure.
Page 24 of the job fairs. Ken makes an observation that we certainly had a mismatch of number of job seekers applying and number of job openings. I want to stress, Ken, that November is Hiring Red, White, and You, and it is a statewide job fair. So we suffered greatly from the competition for job seekers and the promotion of the activity. So we did not get the numbers of job seekers we had hoped. But I think it was because they had too many options on the same day in the same month of November. Every board in Texas holds that job fair, and many of the job openings were replicated, the larger companies. So I know that North Central and Tarrant both had better show on their job seekers, but we all use the same platform. There's no accounting for it. And that is a boom of openings because it's also people desperate to make good on their holiday hires. So those were the only factors that I'm aware of, but I'll get more data if you'd like. But that's what November brings around, and we're going to have it again this year. But we are looking for a better promotion of our activity, and we're also looking at stretching it out over a week's time instead of just one day. And I'm working with the state to create that environment where we do a better job of reaching the veterans. There are not that many veterans showing up for these veteran-sponsored events. I think they are readily picked up by the market because they're veterans. And I think we have a smaller number coming out of the military. The military is not giving us these large numbers to enter into the marketplace. Thank you for the question, though. It's a good one. Moving on, Bill, I know we'd have to move quickly. I don't have a quorum. We have that big issue of job search. But Connie and Demetria, we're going to go quickly through their action items. There are many on the next 3 pages. Dee?
Good morning. I'm Demetria Robinson, Executive Vice President. Excuse my voice this morning. My allergies are on a run today. It's my pleasure to present to you the contract and agreement items on page 26. We're seeking board authorization for a couple of items this morning. The first, I'm pleased to report that we have secured our required local match amount of $4.5 million for fiscal year 2021, with the assistance from the Texas Workforce Commission and Workforce Solutions Control Valley. The remaining amount of $243,914 was secured through a memorandum of understanding with Workforce Solutions Control Valley. The MOU allowed us time to continue efforts locally. We're working with the city of Irving while the agreement is under legal review, and Dallas ISD as they seek approval for an amendment to their original agreement we have by their board of trustees. If these items are approved, we will exceed our match requirement and the MOU with Control Valley will no longer be needed. The local match funds assist us in assessing the federal child care funds to provide direct care to eligible children. These funds will be added to child care group's existing contract to deliver those services. The second item that we have includes 2 amendments to EQUIS contracts. One, the youth service contract by adding the Student High Ability Navigator Program funds in the amount of $125,000. This is to improve access to employment and training services and increase employment opportunities for youth with disabilities. $225,000 in vocational rehabilitation wage services for paid work experience is going directly to VR participants, those that are experiencing some disabilities. And then $1.5 million in WIO youth funds to provide work experience opportunities to high school graduates from the class of 2020. And Tara Nunn mentioned that in her report in public comment earlier. With that action, the value of EQUIS contract, their youth contract after this amendment will be $6,694,770. The second item is an amendment to EQUIS Workforce System Operations Contract, adding funds to the WIA adult program in the amount of $680,000, in addition to the $600,000 that we got transferred from the dislocated worker funds to adult to continue providing scholarships and opportunities and support services to those that are enrolled in training. $11,205 in disaster recovery dislocated worker grant for COVID-19 activities. These funds were originally presented in January. It was about $1.1 million to facilitate subsidized employment for displaced workers, inclusive of the cost of employment or record. And when we presented it in January, the work site agreement with Dallas County was not signed. We had not, it was still pending. So we have received that signed agreement. EQUIS has screened and referred individuals and have secured individuals with job placement. $140,000 in trade adjustment funds go directly for training costs for individuals who have been laid off. That is the action for EQUIS Workforce System Operations Contract. And after this amendment, their contract will be $23,151,652. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions? And I went very fast on that.
Any questions for Dee?
D, is the 23 million inclusive of the 6,694,000?
No, sir, those are two separate contracts.
Okay.
Any other questions? Then I'll look for a motion, I guess, to approve item 1 and 2 and both phases of item 2 for the contracts and agreements. Do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Thank you, Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, everybody. All in favor, please say aye or hand wave.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And let's recognize any abstentions.
Abstention for item 2. This is Rolinda.
Thanks, Rolinda.
Abstain as well for both.
Laura, did you get those? Connie? The motion passes. So, Connie, I guess?
Yes.
Oversight.
I have procurement, policy, and oversight. I'm Connie Rash, Senior Vice President and Board Secretary. Starting with procurement, we have the Texas Rising Star Assessor Services. If you look at the page that Mario has up there, the procurement was released March 9th with a due date of April 1st. This is a joint procurement effort with North Central, Tarrant, and us. As a result of the procurement, we received 18 responses, 17 were responsive to the procurement. So of the 17, we are recommending 14, which is listed in the bullets below. Those vendors scored 70 or above. The 3 listed did not meet that threshold. I've also listed the payment schedule for the Texas Rising Star Assessor Services. So that is pretty much the procurement item. So if anyone has any questions about that, the board recommendation is to add the TRS vendors to the vendor list. And this is pending proof of insurance and background checks.
So do I have a motion to approve the recommendation as written for procurement?
So moved.
Second.
Susan and Stephanie both, and Ken. So who made the motion, Stephanie or Susan?
I'll claim it if Susan doesn't want it.
You go, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we'll give Ken a second on that. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye or show of hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And recognize any abstentions on procurement. All right, the motion passes.
I'm going to ask Connie to stop sharing screen on this. The print is too small, Connie, and it's hard to read votes and see issues.
Okay, gotcha.
Screen. Thank you, dear.
No worries, no worries.
We can just go ahead and refer to that page number. I think you were on 27, right? At the
Yes,
bottom
sir.
there?
Page
Okay.
27. At the very bottom, we're covering the support services policy. And support services, as you guys know, this is an allowable activity for individuals enrolled. The current policy allows for transportation and transportation-related assistance, but we needed to provide more detail to the field for transportation. So we would like to add a recommended maximum amount of $2,500 per customer, and that would be for a year, which would be October 1 through September 30th. The items that we're recommending are on page 28, the bullets. It's car repairs, maintenance, consumables, which is tires, batteries, and oil changes, vehicle safety inspections, liability, car insurance payments, and vehicle registration. So, and there's some qualifiers with that. Pre-approval is required with receipts from the vendor. Payments will be paid directly to the vendor for the items. And we're considering it a one-time assistance to participants. And this is for them to get to work or to get to school. Participants also must show proof of vehicle ownership for the proposed service. So this is for their title or registration.
And Connie, this is consistent with some other boards in the area, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Other boards are offering the same thing. So we thought this would help our participants get to work or get to school. If it's okay, I'll run through the rest of the policies, or if you guys have any questions, just let me know.
Connie, real quickly, the one-time provision, is that one time forever or one time per year?
What I intended was one time per year.
Okay, thank you.
And Connie, this is Carter. Any thoughts given to mass transit, bus passes, anything like that? Is any as an alternative to this or in addition to this?
Yes, sir. Bus passes are already in the existing policy. So we do cover bus passes.
And gas reimbursement, Carter, I think we raised that last month to $40 a week. So we are covered on gas and bus. We just never took on the car repair situation, but I think we have to, considering we're just having a hard time getting everybody located at work. They're having a hard time getting to work. So
is there any requirement to prove that they're going to work? I mean, so much of our workforce has changed to a remote status. I would hate that we're reimbursing for things that aren't actually happening today. I mean, most of our workforce is working from home. Just something to think about.
I will look into it. I think once we get the ownership and do a one-time, we usually do that because we know they're going to school. We've signed them up. Now they could drop out the next month. The other would be that we know we've referred them and they've been hired on a job. Now it could be what we were talking about earlier, was there really a job? But yeah, it's a good idea. I don't know how we would do it going forward. We can do the best prognosis of what's going to happen, but it's good to watch for. Thanks for the heads up.
I have a question. My question was, so does this pertain to those already having a job or also job seekers? Do they get this assistance if they need transportation to go out for job interviews or to seek a job?
That's a great question. What we do assistance for is looking for work, going to work, getting that job. We do not assist current workers. That is a problem unless they were previously enrolled in the system and we followed them all the way through. We did have current worker programs in the past. We don't any longer. We do need those again, and I'm hoping those will come out in new legislation. Any others? Keep going, Connie.
Okay. The next policy is Childcare Enhanced Reimbursement Rates. This, we're basically following the WD letter that TWC put out. It's WD letter 2020 change 2. And this allows boards flexibility and requires a process for the stair-step reduction or phase out of this enhanced reimbursement rates. In program year 20, we received 30.5 million in enhanced reimbursement rates, and program year 21, we have received 11.5 million. So that kind of gives you a background on that. But the ERR percentages by service month following the WD letter is outlined. And there's no local flexibility with these percentages. But what we do have flexibility on is if for scheduled payments that cross over service months where the ERR percentage drops, we will pay the previous month's ERR percentage rate. And any claim subsequently processed for a prior service will be processed using the ERR percentage in effect at the time of service. So for example, if a payment hit and it crossed over March and April, we would pay March at 25%, if that makes sense. any questions regarding that policy. Okay.
Yeah, I've got just a quick question. I think the policies laid out pretty clearly. I just want to understand as a baseline, in this moment in time, is there any flexibility or is there an opportunity to increase the reimbursement rate as our baseline? I know that having an ongoing enhanced reimbursement rate is not what's intended, but just, you know, what's the maximum that the state might be amenable to in terms of us getting to childcare providers?
I'm going to give you what I think the answer is, but I'm going to ask Dee to correct me if I'm incorrect. The state went on a large effort in early 19 to morph every rate across the state to be more consistent. We benefited from that. We also raised our rate. I think once we went into COVID and all of these tactical moves from the state, which were very beneficial, and there are more moves coming, I'm not sure, Dee, that we have the rights to raise rates during this time. Do we?
We do not. And right now, with targets being low, it's part of the rule that if we're not meeting, that we cannot even submit that. But right now, I don't think they are accepting any of those requests during COVID because of all the moving parts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lord knows we'd like to, Alan, but we are in a bind here with the amounts of money that are going to come from the latest legislation in one-time payments to, or in two payments perhaps, to childcare centers it blows our mind. I was talking to somebody at the state. We've never seen money like this. And there will be direct payments from the state to childcare licensed centers and licensed homes. And we're talking 5 figures. We're talking about some interesting movement on the subsidizing of childcare centers. So let's hold on. Right now, it wouldn't help them much because we're on such low enrollment. And hopefully next month we can talk about contracted slots, Alan, because they are giving us data. But you guys will meet on the task force in a couple of days from here, and we'll give you as much as we know at that time. There's things happening every day. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll save for the task force conversation. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Connie, continue.
Okay. The very last policy is the childcare automated attendance and manual absence tracking. This is following TWC WD letter 08-21. And the bullets listed below, there's no local flexibility with those bullets. Really, the main 2 things that we do have flexibility on is how we communicate this change to inform parents and providers of the discontinuation of the CCAA system. This will be a manual system until TWC does a procurement. So we will utilize TWC's customizable templates to inform parents and providers of this change. The other local flexibility item is we'll track 15 and 30-day absence notifications in Twist. So those are the 2 flexible items that we have for that particular policy. Otherwise, we follow TWC's guidance. So that's policy in a nutshell. And I appreciate all the comments. This has been good.
We need action to approve and distribute the policies.
Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation as written? Thank you, Susan.
Second.
Thanks, Ken. All in favor, say aye or show hands.
Aye.
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 By the way, a show of hands and aye only counts as 1 vote. Just hold that. All
Vote
opposed.
early and vote often.
All opposed, same sign. And any abstentions? Are we good, Lori?
We are good, sir. The biggest issue on our plate, Connie, I know you have oversight there, but there's nothing consequential this month. Is that true?
No, ma'am. We just provided a little update of what's happening and an update.
Yeah, and the only thing that TWC did not accept our corrective action plan. Equus needs to try harder to do data entry in a timely manner, and that's the footnote on 2019 TWC report. We're still battling that report in virtual world, but we are assured that the next round will pass. That's on the contractor, and we will keep you apprised. All right. I just need to talk to you about job search policy. Last month, we thank you. We gave our persons in the community who are receiving unemployment time to keep getting better, get vaccinated, and get back to work. The item comes up today because we said we would take it up again. I'm not sure of the board's mind this month. So this is on page 31, and the state says Dallas is the outlier now. We are the only board that has not resumed search, but I have the opposing conversation coming from County Health saying, we are still at orange. Would you give us 4 more weeks? And that is directly from County Health. I don't know what your choices are. I do know a couple of things. One, the mandatory job search is not a guarantee that people get out and search for work. It's a guarantee that people go through the motions. And that is one of the downsides. And I was criticized by an employer about that. They just assumed we were requiring job search and said, you know, it's not doing any good. But I checked with other boards and they're getting the same feedback. People either want to go back into the work or they cannot because of fear, childcare, whatever their personal circumstance. TWC has made it very easy for someone to ding a bell and say, I am in active job search. And I provided you that chart directly from their website, up to and including a virtual experience. The county would ask that we give it 4 more weeks, hoping that more people get vaccinated and that we get out of orange and into yellow. It's a very difficult situation. We can do nothing. At that point, what I pointed to, the RECE funding, we will not spend that funding. We don't need it. I have to tell you, we are, and I have asked the state, is there any way to tap into that by doing searches, talking to people, monitoring, and it doesn't rise to the level of RECE funding. So we have plenty of dislocated worker money to keep serving customers, engaging customers. We could do that better than we do it. And I will tell you, employers are desperate. And they're not all low wage. We've dealt with 2 or 3 this month, 15 an hour, still cannot get takers, but they're not people that are on benefits. That's the other thing. We are also tapping into people who aren't receiving benefits to see if they will go to work. I'm sure there's an anecdote for each situation. We've been told, well, nobody, wants to go to work because of these benefits. The benefits are not that big. It's $300 a week for people with nothing but pandemic care. For the 20,000 or so in our market who are continuing claims, meaning there's a state claim, they're getting about $700 a week. There's only 20,000 of those. I wish we could cut the difference and say, for all of you over here, let's do search. For you over here, let's not. It's a one size fits all. I wish I could give you better clarity or better suggestions this morning.
Laura?
Yes, sir.
Where does Fort Worth and other big cities, Houston, stand on this? Do you know?
Everyone went back. I will say that it was somewhat dismissive when I talked to people about, well, why is it a big deal? Some people are just going to do a virtual review once a week and ding a bell, and they're not really going to engage. And I guess it's the integrity of the situation. If we say you do job search, I hope we mean it, and I hope people know we mean it and not an exercise. That is the risk we run. Just do it because it's in the script.
Box to check.
Yeah.
Lori, I'm just curious as to the thought process behind Dallas County because we're no different than Harris County or Travis County or Bear County or any of the major urban areas.
Exactly.
You know, when I see this, I know I'm knee jerking here, but I just think that we're such an outlier. I think we should go ahead and implement the requirement.
I would agree with Ken, especially with what's on page 31. But I know for a fact employers are desperate for workers. And we had the statistics earlier in the reports that we've given that they're looking hard for it. And I think it's time. The vaccines are out there available to everybody in Texas, even early 16 and over. Right now, they don't even have enough vaccines, or have an overflow, I guess, of vaccines compared to those desiring to get it still. I would push to implement also. Now, maybe not to 3 job searches, or, you know, right now we have none, but I would implement it, you know, on a weekly basis, maybe 2 job searches, and get people back out in the workforce that want to. Those that don't want to are not going to do it. But this gives avenues to those that do want to work, that are willing to work, an avenue to find something.
I'm in
Lori,
agreement with the two of you.
And Lori, I'll weigh in. I've spent the better part of my career, 21 years now, working for this Japanese technology company. And very early in my career here, I learned a saying, and it was this: the nail that stands up the highest will get hammered. And I don't like the fact that Dallas is the nail that's standing out, and I would recommend that we not stand out any longer on this point.
Okay, thank you all.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Thanks for delaying it. I'm still going to be a no today, and here's why. It's April 21st, 2021. I have not gone to the office since early March of 2020. I have a blanket on my lap while I'm drinking my coffee from home. We're at 100,000 unemployment. Full employment is considered 50,000. We're only at about 20% of Dallas County residents with the vaccines. The cases are spiking in 33 states, including Texas. We're also seeing spikes internally in our own numbers. We're talking about $300 a week. We are not saying that people cannot look for work. We're just saying that there are situations with, if you're in a state with the highest rate of uninsured residents at 18%, 27% among Hispanics, 15% among African Americans. So there are situations where there are people without health insurance, where there are people who cannot work remotely, that don't have access to childcare, that the $300 may be a lifeline for their family. And then I am thinking that if we're the outliers, it's because the other boards maybe weren't paying enough attention, but I'm going to be in it.
Yeah, although I will say, Rebecca, that, yeah, the numbers are much rosier than what you just articulated, because as of yesterday, we're over 30% that are fully vaccinated, and more than 50% of the adult population in the state have at least 1 vaccination at this point. So we're well on our way. And plus, we have not seen the spikes that many of the other states in the country have seen, in spite of the fact that we removed the mask mandate and all these other things. So I just think we can continue to defer this, but I think there's an opportunity here. We should have some sort of requirement. It may not be, like Bill said, it may not be 3, but we should have some sort of requirement. And then to close the gap on the uninsured rate, that one way to do that is by having someone become employed with benefit eligibility. So there's a lot of different things that we can be doing here. So Rebecca, I completely respect where you're coming from. I completely understand what you're saying. But on the other hand, at some point, we've got to start pointing forward here. We can't keep looking backwards.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question, Lori? Can job searches be done by telephone or virtually, or do they have to be face-to-face?
They can be done virtually, Susan, especially through work in Texas, but here's the caveat. And I have asked the state how they enforce this, because I know things are, as Dan mentioned, they're not even able to handle the volume right now on fraud. But I said, okay, say we don't do the job searches. What's happening to people in the other areas when they do a job search? And the comment was, if you refuse a job and the employer reports you to TWC, you could lose your benefit. So that's so I was trying to figure out what are the conditions for not taking a job, or there's an appeals process, but they would do without benefits for a period of time, is my understanding. The only other way the state is acknowledging is if we, the board, or the board staff says, we referred you on 2 jobs, now we're reporting to the state, these were good jobs and you refused them. So to me, that would be a stretch, but I can see one of our team doing that if in fact it was a perfect match and someone's just sitting it out. Those are the 2 cases I'm told. There is not an electronic flag any longer that says you refuse these appointments. The other is that job search also includes participating in training. You could, if you have, now in Rebecca's situation, we're talking about people who don't have access to all of this. They're not able to participate at that level. So for them, it will be go out, get a resume, and now I'll tell you on the high end, let's go to the professionals. Good many professionals probably still weighing their options. Many professionals took us on years ago about 4 and 5 job searches saying, well, at my level, there aren't that many jobs to apply for. I can't just go online and pick 2 or 3 jobs. So everybody has a different view of this conversation.
Laura, what is the next step with this discussion? Is this something we need to vote on?
Yes, sir. To change or to retain, we would need a vote. And I did check. We still are at quorum. We've lost a few people. Magda had to step off, and so did Dr. May. Connie, do you confirm that count, that we still have 13 members in the room?
And we still have a quorum.
Thank you. The action could be anything from
well, I think we might have 2. We might have a vote to reinstate the job search. If that fails, then we're done. If it passes, then we would have a vote as to how many searches would be required. Would you agree with that?
That's one way of approaching it, yes. Unless someone wants to.
I have a question. I have a question about the job searches, because a lot of people don't have access to the technology to do the job searches online, correct? So wouldn't that work against them if they have to do a certain amount of searches per week?
Yes, Susie, that is one argument, yes.
Okay.
And Board Chair Bill, my question is, so if it declines on the first automatically, then you don't necessarily, I mean, if it gets approved on the first, you don't necessarily have an opportunity to go back and say 1 or 2 searches during the week. So can it be a comprehensive motion to say whatever, let me just give an example, we approve the number of job searches limited to 2 a week? Or does it just have to be all 3 that this motion is?
No, I think we can do that. If we want to make a motion to retain the job search and require 2 searches per week, we can put the motion like that. Can't we, Lori?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, Lori.
Shannon, I think Shannon's hand's up, but I don't know if it's intentional. Shannon, did you have a question? No? Okay. Thank you, dear. I just saw a hand. I'm going to be funny about the hands, guys, because I think at this point we're going to have to count hands.
Okay.
I think Dan has a question.
Dan.
It's not really a question. It's just a statement. I am persuaded by the case that Rebecca made, and just looking at it from, I don't doubt that there are some people who are taking a free ride and enjoying the unemployment relief that they're receiving. But I don't think it is a great number. I don't know if there's any data out there, but just dealing with a lot of people in the very low income category, this is not a vacation for them. They need the jobs, and I think if we're only 30% vaccinated, to start pulling this pretty de minimis support from them, it's just going to be tragic. And I look at all of the families in DISD where the vast majority of them are very, very low income, working multiple jobs when they're available. So I would prefer to take another look at this next month. We're a city with the highest child poverty in the state, so I don't really think that we need to be as heavy-handed, perhaps as other cities are. I get to work at home. I don't have to go in the office. Our firm chair goes out of her way to make sure that no one has to go to the office if they feel uncomfortable doing it. But so I kind of feel very conflicted to again use that heavy hand on some people who are in pretty desperate straits solely because there might be a few that are milking the system. I just don't think there are as many as people may suspect.
But I think the statistic we need to look at is the availability of vaccines, and that there's a large number who are refusing to be vaccinated. This might serve as an impetus for vaccination. If vaccines weren't available, I may take the other stand. Well,
I think that's a fair point. It is just that in a lot of these communities, the willingness to get it is sometimes related to a lot of other factors that coincide with being and living in high poverty. That all of us got the vaccines as soon as we could, right? Everybody vaccinated on this call?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone not vaccinated?
I'm not vaccinated.
I'm not either.
Okay. And is there a reason why you're not? I'm just out of curiosity. I mean, you don't think it's a good idea, or you just haven't had a chance to do it, or something like that?
Can we pull this conversation back to?
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Sorry. Well,
yeah, just so we can move forward, and certainly Dan understand where you're coming from on that and appreciate that. And everybody has obviously stands in one direction or another on this. I think to move forward, I had stated maybe some language to be made into a motion if somebody would like to do it, and we can vote on it as a board. We'll see where it stands and move forward one way or another. And if it does not pass, we'll address it again at the next board meeting. Does anybody, any more discussion? And if not, would anybody entertain making a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we require our folks to perform 2 job searches per week.
So reinstate the job search program at 2 per week.
That's it. That's it, Bill. It's reinstate the previous job search requirement. And what I heard Carter say is 2 per week.
Okay. So the motion is from Carter. Do I have a second?
Second.
So at this point in time, if we have enough board members, as I believe we do still, all in favor of that recommendation, please say aye and show of hands as Lori stated.
Aye.
Aye.
Hang on. 3, 4, 5. Oh, that thought, guys. I'm sorry. It does take a minute. I'm counting 5. Connie, do you have a different count? Let me name.
I see 6, but
6?
yeah.
I have Holly, Bill, Ken, Carter, Christina, and
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Thank you. I knew I had another, but is that everyone that wishes to vote for the motion in favor of? All right, Bill, proceed.
Okay, all opposed, same sign.
Yes, be sure to take your hand sign down if you're voting opposite now. I get 10. Connie, what do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Either way, guys, it's more than the 6. So I think we are, the motion is defeated.
Yeah. Motion does not pass, and we will table it again to the next board meeting. And frankly, that's what this is all about, guys. It's a tough subject, and we're blessed to have so many different views to look at it with the many different roles we're all in on this board. So thank you all for your input. And it's a tough time. There's no doubt, and certainly recognize where people are in their job searches, and certainly in their economic conditions also. So it is a serious subject. Appreciate the input, and let's look at it again in May.
And Dan and Lori, when we look at it next month, could we make sure we have some data as it relates to the percentages of those in Dallas County that have received the vaccination? But because I think that's a critical point.
Yes, ma'am. I wish we could require it in a way, to say if you're vaccinated, you should take a job. If you're not vaccinated, you have your reasons. I mean, I wish there was more connection in this, but I thank you all for voting your mind. It's wonderful to see that you are also engaged. Bill, if I could just touch on one other topic, I'm not going to be able to cover legislation. This is technical. I don't want to lose sight that we are still working with WorkQuest. However, the original proposal, and Reverend Britt is, I think Gerald is with us today. The original proposal cannot be tackled. Our lawyers have serious concern about us taking on unlimited liability and taking on a role that is not in our mission. So having said that, I'm going to work with WorkQuest. We'll come back to you each month with an update. They are still pursuing their 501c3, and we are looking for incubators for them or stewardship for them. It will not be Workforce Solutions. That could be a conversation again with the attorney if you so choose. There's a need to have that as attorney-client privilege. I'm just giving you the high notes that they are what we thought we might do. It's a bad idea for the board. And as you see from today's agenda, we have covered so much. There is so much coming at us that all the special projects and all the special partnerships, I'm having to put new staff on, and we'll have some new people to introduce to you in May. Thank you all. Bill, I will give it back to you. I appreciate my time. You're on mute, Bill.
Well, I was really saying some good stuff too. No, thank you all again for your participation this morning. We value everybody's time. I know some had to leave earlier for other meetings and getting ready to head out myself, but thank you for your time, your comments. Appreciate everybody on this board and what you mean as a group. We got a lot on our plate with $140 million budget and really, really tough times. So thank you all again. Have a great week and a great month.
Just a minute, Carrie, have a great retirement.
Oh yeah. Carrie, thank you very much for your 6 years. I don't know if he's on mute or doesn't want to talk. Maybe he'll get emotional. But thank you all so much. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, Laura.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.